From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 Studios in New Orleans is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios. That is Sean Fazende. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You guys can find us wherever you listen to and watch your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the little bell notification button. You get notified every time we upload a new podcast. Sean, back to 500, back to square one, my brother. It is a loss to the Vikings where, like you said in your package on Final Play, where the Saints' dreams go to die.
I hate Minnesota. I hate Minnesota. I hate going there. It's my least favorite stop on the NFL tour. It's my least favorite place to go. It wasn't as cold as it's been in years past and times that I've gone there, but it's cold, so strike one. Strike two, the misery that franchise has just given this city and this franchise is really amazing. I mean, it really is amazing how one franchise over the course of decades has just owned another franchise and how much they have had the Saints number. We went through it on Friday.
Yeah, we did.
Childhood memories, work memories. Anyway, I'm back. Thank God for that. Saints are not happy. Saints fans are not happy, but hopefully you're happy with this video, so be sure to like, share, rate, review, subscribe to the YouTube channel, get those numbers up for us, and we'll keep cranking out this content. We have some content for you today because, Sil, as you said, the Saints are back to 500.
That they are, and so let's look at the big picture we do. What do you make of yesterday's loss to the Vikings?
The Saints' natural tendency to be average was on display. They're the epitome of average. They are made of mediocrity, whatever you want to say, average, mediocre. We said Friday, Sil, how big of a game it was going into the bye week because if you get the win, going to Minnesota, you get the win, you get your third straight win, you head into the bye week 6-4, feeling good, separating yourself from that just rut, that middle of the pack of the NFL, and kind of move from average to, or we would call it good enough last week, to good, a solidly good team, or take the other way, slip back down to 5-5, confirm your average status, which is exactly what they did with the loss, and slip back to 5-5. Once again, show you cannot handle any kind of success. Because once again, after a little bit of success, after a little taste of success, all of a sudden, they couldn't handle it. They could not handle it. 5-5 is exactly what the record suggests it is. Not good, not bad. It's right in the middle. It is average. And for some of y'all watching, you're probably like, that's the worst place to be, is average. You'd rather almost be really bad right now or obviously really good. That is not the case. They're 5-5, and look, deserved to be 5-5. I mean, deserved to be 5-5. That game was awful. Don't get caught up in that little bit of excitement towards the end. The Saints had no business winning that game. They went to Minnesota. They looked lost, and they took the well-deserved L. So that's part A of the big picture. Part B is somehow, some way, through 10 games, and this is who you are. This is who you are. You're not still learning your identity. This is who you are. They're still on top of the NFC South. How is that possible? That's how bad the NFC South is. Thank you, Atlanta Falcons, I guess. Thank you. I guess Tampa Bay won, so you're a half game ahead of Tampa Bay. So the big picture is they're going to remain average the rest of the year. They're going to hover around 500. I think they finished 9-8. But I also think, Sil, I still think they can win the division, and I still think the odds are that they do win the division, which is it's not saying much, but it is something to say. It is significant if they were able to do so. But let's not lose sight of the fact that this is an average team that just cannot get out of its own mediocrity, and that despite several opportunities to do so, Sunday being one of them, they will remain this up and down sort of team that just any momentum just gets stalled too quickly. And then on the flip side, when they lose a couple, they're able to usually rebound pretty fast. But nonetheless, 5-5 is exactly what it suggests. They are an average franchise. What say you?
Let me ask you something. You said this before. You think that this could be a team that makes a splash in the playoffs if they were to make it. They could scare some teams, right?
When did I say that?
You've said that to me before. Off.
Okay, when did I say it on this?
you did say that it was a few weeks ago, but like, I'm assuming by your reaction that you do not believe that anymore at this juncture.
I don't recall saying that, but I will say at some point this season, maybe at like 2-0, maybe when they rebound and got to 3-2, if they were able to make some sort of run, maybe they could. But no, look, if they were to get into the postseason, it would be as a division winner. They would be the 4th seed. That's the other thing. They're the 4th seed currently right now.
And they would host a game. Right
now it would be against the Seattle Seahawks. No, I don't believe that. I mean, look, if they got to host a playoff game, this is way down the not way down the road, but this is coming off of that loss, this is not the mind frame I want to be in, but nonetheless, who knows if they ever got to that point. But I mean, at this point, who really cares? This is not a championship team. This is not a contender.
No.
I mean, they had a chance to separate, and they didn't do it. They got 7 games left on the back end of the bye. Last year, they went on a little mini run after the bye, but I mean, come on, they are who they are at this point. That's a 5-5 ball club.
And going back to what you said about being middle of the pack is the absolute worst, and Saints fans know what it's like.
They've been kind of letting us know about that as well. It's just they would almost rather just have it be a full like dumpster fire and just as opposed or being obviously really good as opposed to being right in the middle, which is where it looks like this team's gonna stick around.
Tired about hearing how the team should be competitive when competitive only gets you right in the middle there. But let's get into more of the minutia of what happened yesterday. What exactly went wrong for the Saints?
Well, this could fall into a big picture item because it's the latest example of a scary trend that has happened now for probably 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
What has happened to this defense? This once vaunted, this once dominant, this once fantastic defense that was winning games has taken a massive regression. Once again, you go into the game knowing you need a fast start. Doesn't happen. You go into a game knowing you needed to contain a quarterback that can get outside the pocket and extend plays. Didn't happen. You knew you had to play disciplined football. It didn't happen. And once again, you fell in a deep, deep hole early. This time it caught you, though, because the offense wasn't able to match points with the opposition. And we'll get to the offense in a second. But defensively, it's like, was there a plan? If there was, it wasn't executed very well. And then it's the same things. Slow start, quarterback that can run. And Josh Dobbs is not an MVP. Josh Dobbs is not even a starter in the NFL. Not until this year.
He's on that Geno Smith arc.
What is going on here? It's Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
And he looked fantastic. The Saints helped him out in that regard. They had it was a first half disaster. They had no answer for TJ Hawkinson, who was a really good player. He was killing them on those over routes and those drag routes and caught the skinny post that you'll see on Black and Gold Review tonight that I broke down. And that was really the backbreaker.
He's exactly what the Saints are missing.
Oh, man. Could you imagine if the Saints had a tight end of that magnitude that could really, really work those style of routes in the middle of the field? I think he would be a fantastic player within this offense. But nonetheless, they looked unprepared. They looked sloppy and just like their down-to-down execution. And, the Josh Dobbs touchdown run, Alontae Taylor has the angle, has the corner, and he just kind of puts that hezzy on him, and Taylor can't Josh Dobbs outruns him to the corner. It was a third down play. It's just really sloppy, and it really is sad to see this regression. I hate just to be like this, but they have looked old the last couple of weeks. They have looked old at key positions, players that they've counted on, for years and years, and it's just all it takes is a little bit of a dip, and you don't know when it's going to hit, and the result can be what you're witnessing. Now, I know they're going to point to, well, they only allowed 3 points in the second half. They made adjustments. So what? The game was over in the second quarter. The hole was too big. That touchdown to Hawkinson was basically the winning points of the game. There was a 10-minute stretch where it was 3-3. Then it went to 24-3 in the second quarter. That's where the game was lost for the Saints. Frankly, defensively, that was an abysmal performance. And the bigger picture of where this defense currently is one of the storylines that none of us saw coming this year.
Yeah, it's not looked good considering the strong start they had to the season.
Well, I'm going to flip it over to the offensive side now, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
Yeah, because what was it? What was the plan? Talk about a lack of plan, a lack of preparation, a lack of execution. First off, it's very loud inside that stadium. We didn't get a chance to talk to a lot of the players about this. I really wish I could have after the game. But it looked like there was some communication issues. It looked like the offensive line wasn't quite as strong as they had been the last couple of weeks. And what happens when that offensive line or when Derek Carr doesn't feel secure with the offensive line, what happens? Either he gets hesitant or he checks down really fast or he just looks out of sorts. He looked indecisive. He looked hesitant. And then, who's been the MVP the last couple of weeks of the season? Taysom Hill.
Yeah, and where was he?
He got one carry, and he was going to come in on that 4th and short. That was a false start. And then they waited too long to go tempo. It was 17-3 in the second quarter, and they just waited too long to go tempo. And then they opened the second half down 24-3 with 3 straight runs. So offensively, look, they were bad, but the defense's ineptitude obviously was the major storyline of this one. But I just thought offensively they went back to that typical where, have a couple good games and then slip back. Have a couple good games and then slip back. So I'm not sure what to make of why they did what they did, but it felt like A, coaching failure, B, an execution failure, and C, it just felt like once again they got a little bit of a taste of success, back feeling good. And they didn't have the same focus. And that's a direct reflection of coaching, in my opinion. So here we are back at square one. That's just, like we said before, the average 2023 New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, and I feel like that last line you just said, where that's indicative of poor coaching, is kind of what we alluded to a couple weeks ago. We were talking about it in the sports office, and it might give you a spike of good performance for a game or two, but then everything's going to fall back to the baseline, which it definitely
right
did
now.
yesterday.
Well, if you had to pick right now, what's the record they finished with this year?
I mean, you got how many games left?
There's 7.
7
They're
games.
5-5.
Okay, so I would honestly hazard to say 8 and 9.
Okay, I'm going to say 9 and 8. I still think the back half of the schedule sets up for winning 4 of the last 7. But 8-9 is certainly, that's right around the 500 mark, we said.
We're not that far off from each other.
I mean, look, they got Atlanta twice. They can certainly beat Atlanta. Atlanta's nothing special. They beat bad teams. They lose to good teams. What does that tell you? They're an average football team. They're right in the middle.
Yep.
So, and they got the Rams, which has a losing record. Detroit's going to be tough. A Tampa Bay game on New Year's Eve could be tough, and then you have another Carolina contest as well. You should win that game. So I guess I would go 9 and 8. You're going to go 8-9. But it's about where we thought. If losing that game to Minnesota, that's where I was resorting to with this team. So this is where I feel like they currently stand.
And we both said 10 and 7 prior to the season.
Exactly,
so.
We both said 10 and 7.
So all right, now let's talk. We did talk a little bit about Derek Carr here. Mm-hmm. He got hurt. It was a concussion / shoulder. They said the shoulder's fine. He's in concussion protocol. Jameis Winston comes in and breathes a little life into the offense the way gunslinger Jameis does. There's no sort of quarterback competition, though.
No, and honestly, I was a little surprised that came up post game, but I was kind of glad it did because it gave DA a chance to say out loud what I have been telling you guys week in and week out. There is no competition.
Just squash it.
There is no quarterback controversy. They are not benching Derek Carr. It's not happening. And my initial thought was, that's Jameis. I mean, that's Jameis. Down 27-3. It's basically, you got to just, it's similar to what they were in I guess, the Jacksonville game, where you just kind of no huddle and just go. At some point, they probably would have gotten to that with Derek Carr at some point. Yep. Jameis came in, and he gives you the full Jameis experience. My guy.
Roller coaster.
My guy comes in, throws a dime to Chris Olave. Then he misses his next 6 passes. Then he gets an interception off a tip pass that gets overturned. Then he throws the first of 2 Hail Marys, because I'm going to tell you something. That throw to A.T. Perry was so unbelievable. That's you are not supposed to ever, at any level of football, no matter who you are, make that throw in a football game. And he made it across the field to the point where the safety was surprised. I talked to A.T. Perry after the game. He goes, I was surprised he was going to throw it to me, but when I saw him look over and release the ball, I had to get myself in a position to make the play. And he went up and got it. It was kind of bobbled a little bit. He was able to come down with it. Then he threw he threw 2 other picks. I mean, in a quarter and a half, he had all of that. I mean, look, that's Jameis. He's entertaining, wildly entertaining. That's probably why he has such a strong fan base, but he's also wildly erratic. And for a defensive-minded head coach, you can certainly see, while both players have their flaws, a head coach like D.A. would prefer a guy like Derek Carr, who's, look, Jameis has 3 picks on the season already. Derek Carr has 4.
Yeah.
And so this isn't a glowing endorsement of Derek Carr's play. I just think this is where they're at organizationally. I think, honestly, people are going to point to the contract, and that's certainly yes. Business-wise, yes. But I still think football-wise, for a coach like D.A., he's going to always prefer a guy like Derek Carr, who's takes care of the football a little bit more, but you would certainly like to see a little bit more of him attack downfield. Where with Jameis, I mean, we've seen it. It's just throw caution to the wind at all times.
Safe to say that Jameis does too much, maybe Derek Carr does too little?
Yeah, and look, at the end of it all, and please, if you disagree, let me know. Carr hasn't been a disaster. He's just been like the rest of the team. He's been average. And when you look at it all, he's been average. But you look at that's like I said, it's not a glowing endorsement of Carr. Yeah. That's just where they stand with him. And I think his play has been pretty, like, it's pretty reminiscent of the team as a whole, just kind of in the middle, which is what Derek Carr has always been throughout his career.
I think he's had more games below average this season than he's had average. I feel like he's gotten bailed out in some moments, like Taysom having the game that he did last week, I think kind of helped Carr not make as many mistakes or not feel as pressured to carry the team to a win. So, I mean, maybe we look at that and we're like, Carr didn't have to do as much. So, I don't know. I look at the games like the one in Tampa. Yeah, he might have still been hurt, but I feel like he put too much on his own plate and tried to win the game there. So I think that it kind of encapsulates the whole season, just slightly below average. I'm not saying he's horrible, but I don't think he's average or above average.
Yeah, and look, I mean, that's perfectly reasonable. That's a perfectly reasonable take to have. But in regards to Jameis, look, this was decided not this year. This was decided last year. A, when they went for Deshaun Watson and didn't get him, and B, when they had a chance to go back to Jameis after Andy Dalton and they didn't. This was decided last year that basically this is where they see Jameis Winston. In this situation, he can come in and give you a little juice and maybe help your team either maintain a lead or kind of help you get back into the swing of things. And look, give him credit. They were down and they had the ball at the end with a chance, and he threw that Hail Mary again, came up a little bit short. But it's not that it was good to hear. It's just what I've been telling people, because I mean, people ask about this all the time. DA reiterated it today that that's not in their thinking, and that's just where they stand. So, and look, Carr's in concussion protocol. The shoulder's fine. I don't know how long it takes to come out of concussion protocol. I'm sure there's the standards he's got to clear, but with the bye week, look, if he came back a few days after an AC joint sprain, I would think he would probably be available for the bye week as well. Again, that's just how the Saints view the quarterback hierarchy, and that's just the way they're going to go as long as Carr's healthy.
All right, so we got questions like we always try to do on Mondays. We make sure you submit them via the Final Word feature on the Final Play app, and we will also take your questions in the comments of our YouTube section. All right, so this first one comes from Mark in Ponchatoula. What is the status of Peyton Turner? It's clear the Saints need help at pass rush. Who dat?
I forgot he was even on the roster.
So did I.
I forgot he was even on the roster. Fantastic question. What was the name of that viewer?
That was Mark.
Mark, fantastic question. You're right. Boy, wouldn't it be nice to have a nice, young, first-round pick in his third year rushing the passer for a team that struggled, rushing the passer, getting any kind of consistent
And he's
pressure from
fresh.
opposing quarterback that's fresh. Wouldn't it be nice to have that guy? He's never available. I guess he's still on. Is he still on IR? Or did he come? Did he get pulled off of IR and is he in the window? I don't know.
I feel like when was he put on IR, Sean?
I don't know. I got to check.
But
he's not available right now. He didn't play, and I don't know when he's going to be available. But that's a great question. They sure could use a player, a former first-round pick, edge pass rusher to help with some pass rushing, but he's never available. The team worked out Jason Pierre-Paul today. Clearly, they understand they need some help up front because that's losing them games right now.
All right, this next question comes from Brandon in Laplace, a frequent question asker. How much of Dennis Allen's job security rests on the Saints making the playoffs this season?
This is a
Fantastic
great question,
Brandon.
Because here's the thing. Maybe more than I originally anticipated, because what's going to happen, people are going to say, I don't even want them to make the playoffs, this and that. We all know the Saints fans want them to make the playoffs and get into the postseason and do their thing.
Yeah.
But, so if he does that, obviously I think he's fine. But if they come up short, very short, what's going to happen is this. Indifference and apathy is going to settle into this fan base. And indifference and apathy is going to lead to impact at the box office, impact with the tickets and the attendance and just the general interest in the program. That could get ownership's attention.
And less of a dome field advantage, too.
Exactly. That could get their attention. So I do think it's probably a little bit more of a, hey, DA probably needs to make the playoffs here just to give himself his own best security. I'm not saying if they don't make the playoffs, he automatically gets fired, because usually they would give a coach like that a chance to basically sacrifice his coordinators or his coaching staff, make some changes, and then see how that goes, which I think is probably going to come regardless of how the season goes this year. But if you'd have asked me that before the season, I'd have said, nah, I think if he gets to 8 or 9 wins, he'll be all right. But now, given the sort of, like I said, where things could lead business-wise, I think he's probably got to do himself a favor and win that NFC South.
I would agree with you. All right, this last question comes from Ricky in Metairie. Do you think Alontae Taylor showed a lack of effort by not making a last-second dive at Josh Dobbs before he ran into the end zone?
I just think he showed a lack of discipline. He should not be able – he shouldn't have gotten, like – the hesitation move shouldn't have caught Alontae Taylor. Like, Alontae Taylor at that size should be quick enough to recover from that and at least dive and push the guy out of bounds. He turned the corner smoothly on Alontae Taylor, and Alontae kind of looked like he lost his footing a little bit.
Hit him with the point.
Alontae Taylor is a scrappy player. I like him, but he has a tendency to be undisciplined. And the undisciplined play from a lot of different players, not just him, from a lot of different players, has really started to catch up with this defense. And that play in particular, it's unacceptable for a guy to get beat around the corner like that by a quarterback who was kind of spinning around like in the pocket and then breaks containment. And then the guy that's there to basically outside contain gets beat to the outside. So you can call it lack of effort, call it whatever you want. It was just a bad football play by Alontae Taylor. And frankly, it's a play, if he makes that play, they kick a field goal, and it's 13-3 instead of 17-3. And the whole complexion of the half maybe changes at that point. Let me just say this. After that, I got to go back and look, but I don't think the Saints went tempo after that, even after falling back 17-3. I got to go back and look, but it never felt like up until the very last quarter of the game or last quarter and a half did they do like the Jacksonville thing where they really got in, no huddle, just calling out plays and going. And I was just surprised. You always have that at your disposal, that they never went that way, or at least enough to where it was noticeable. So just caps off a bad experience perfectly, because it's just a bad. It is always bad when they go to Minnesota.
Yeah, and now we're lucky because the Saints can't lose this week since they are on a bye week. Any final thoughts as we head into this Week 11 bye?
Yeah, I'm very curious about the injuries to Michael Thomas and Marshawn Lattimore. Fairly significant was the tone. There was a report that it was an ankle sprain for Lattimore. We'll see what the deal is with the knee for Michael Thomas. second opinions being brought in. We'll see what that means. Good thing there's a bye week, and we'll see. But that's certainly something to monitor. Hopefully this bye week they're able to get away, refresh, reset like they did for the mini bye, and come back and hopefully try to. History will tell us they will get some wins after the bye week. Hopefully it's enough to get the division and get into the postseason, but we'll see. So enjoy the bye week. Don't let this stuff get you down too bad, and hopefully on the other side we'll see some success for the Saints.
Go watch some actual good football this weekend. For Sean Fazende, I'm Vasilios. We'll catch you guys next time.